Yes, everyone, welcome back. My name is Howson, and today we're going to be looking at the 5 things that we learned about Manchester United's midfield this season. In at number 1, it is not much depth in quality. At the beginning of the season, Manchester United were forced to play without Paul Pogba due to his ankle injury, and we saw Ole Gunnar Solskjaer starting games with Mata, McTominay, Matic, pretty slow, and then we sort of saw it progress to Fred, Andreas, McTominay. And that's just not a Manchester United midfield, is it? I think all of those players have got a place in a squad. All of them. Including Andreas, actually, because I still think there's something in Andreas, even though he was objectively shit for a lot of part of last season. I do think there is a place for Andreas. The issue with Andreas is he doesn't need to be starting every bleeding week, which he was, wasting shot after shot after shot. But that isn't a Manchester United midfield. It's not a midfield that can control games. It's not a midfield that's going to win you games. It's just objectively poor. And when you look at some of the results and some of the form that Manchester United, I was going to say delivered, but I'm going to say suffered, it's no wonder. The midfield simply was not anywhere good enough. When you look at the bench and you look to some of the options that Solskjaer was having to turn to, and it's easy to see why he didn't want to be bringing on the likes of McTominay, the likes of Andreas, even Fred after some of the shaky performances that he's had, as well as Jesse Lingard. None of those players are coming on and changing a game. Some of those might help shore up a result. They might help see you over the line and maybe not fuck it up for you, but none of them are coming on and changing the tempo of a game. Give me the ball. Let me do this. When we drew with Liverpool at Old Trafford this season, Liverpool changed out their entire midfield 3. They went from a very compact and hard-working defensive midfield to a team that wanted to then be on the ball and start attacking Manchester United, which is why we saw them get the equaliser late on. Following the signing of Bruno and Paul Pogba coming and playing for the club again post-lockdown, Manchester United was simply a different animal. We went on a massive unbeaten streak. We put teams away, we competed, and it was just entirely different. And it was different because we had some good first-choice players. But we learned that the backup is nowhere near good enough, which might be why we've signed Donny van de Beek. Number 2, it was a progressive season. It started off bad, but it did get better, and it got better in many different forms. One of the ways that it got better was actually on the ball. Manchester United were the 5th highest team in possession in the league, which I'm quite shocked to learn, actually, because it felt like we gave up a lot of possession, and certainly in the bigger games, we certainly willingly gave up possession. And we didn't seem to really seek out possession. United don't really seem to have that metronomic passing that you see with Manchester City, where they're just trying to put you into that cyclone and just almost get you just watching the ball before hitting you with something quick. They didn't have that dominance that Ferguson Manchester United teams had, where we would see them just strangle a team with possession, knocking it side to side, Carrick and Scholes just giving and going from left to right. But United are the 5th highest in possession in the league, which, like I said, it shocked me. We got an 83.6% pass success rate, which is the 4th highest. Manchester City topping both of those lists, which I'm sure is no surprise for anyone to hear. Keeping the ball is a fantastic form of defence for United. It's one of the reasons why Manchester United went with ball-playing progressive centre-halves, and it's one of the reasons why we're trying to continue doing that. If your opponent doesn't have the ball, they're not scoring. It's as simple as that, and it's not to the same extent Pep Guardiola is and the way he's obsessed with it, or even the way Klopp is obsessed with it, and the way they just knock it around their centre-halves. But United did decent this season with the ball at our feet in terms of keeping hold of it. And we also had a second way of playing, which was on the counter when we didn't have the ball, when it was very effective with it. But we need to keep progressing. If Manchester United want to start moving up the table and challenging for the title in years to come, then we have to start evolving the way we play. And I think it's all well and good having a very good counter-attacking system to play those dangerous clubs to us, or the clubs that are going to try and go toe-to-toe with us in the games, your Liverpool, your City. I think it's fine having that style of play and even refining it and making that a little bit better. But we're also good on the ball, and I think we can get even better on the ball. I think the introduction of Donny van de Beek, if we've got Paul Pogba on a regular basis, Bruno Fernandes, I'm sure those are players that are going to want to play football through the midfield. And I think that's a way that Manchester United can definitely start to take a stranglehold. The games where we should have won and didn't, we all saw the stats. It was every time that we had more possession. It was every time that we dominated a game in terms of possession, but we didn't have that final ball. Van de Beek, Bruno, Paul Pogba in the team. And if you can add someone like a Jadon Sancho in there as well to what you've got with Greenwood, what you've got with Tony Marshall, and what you've got with Marcus Rashford, you will create chances and you will start to score some goals. Number 3, brilliant Bruno. Since Bruno Fernandes signed for the club, Manchester United have gone undefeated in the Premier League. I'll say that again because I'm not sure that you're listening. Since Bruno Fernandes signed for the club, Manchester United went undefeated in the Premier League. Now, obviously, that wasn't his entire doing. It was down to the collective team effort, but Bruno was a focal point and as a creator had a massive impact on what we did with that. His leadership, his organisation and his sheer ability on the ball was a big driving factor in the change of Manchester United's form, but I think equally, if not more important, was the change in mentality. One of the massive things that we've seen change with Manchester United since Bruno came is the change in those leadership qualities. United have lacked leaders for the longest time, characters, people that you could rely on. When I first started watching United, you had the likes of you had Brian Robson, you had Mark Hughes, then you saw like the likes of Eric Cantona come into it. And even the likes of Ryan Giggs, who were very shy and very quiet and very young, obviously when they first come into the team, they grew into that leadership role as they got older and older and got more experienced. But Manchester United, even down to like Wayne Rooney, has just been full of characters. This current side, I think it's no coincidence that it's been lacking in terms of winners, because it's been lacking in terms of characters. And I look at Marcus Rashford and the work that he's doing off the pitch, and I'm sure there's a leader in there because of the attitude that he's got to everything. But Bruno Fernandes, I think his attitude, his work rate, obviously we spoke to Ryan Hopper on the Brew on Stretford Paddock, and we know that that guy's going to Manchester United, training, and then ringing people up and going, I want to do more training. That attitude is fantastic, and that attitude is also infectious. And if there's more and more players end up doing that sort of thing, Manchester United will benefit from it massively. But the character it takes to be that guy, to walk into a club like Manchester United and say, no, some of this ain't good enough, and start putting your stamp on it is massive. On the pitch, he's been pretty good as well, let's be honest. We've seen 8 assists, we've seen 12 goals, 35 chances created, which is 1.59 every 90. He's been mint. He's just been mint. The goals and assists ratio is comparable to 2 very special players who really shone in their first season at the club. Now, both of those players picked up a Premier League winners medal, but I think it kind of ties into the point that the club was at when he came in. And that was Robin van Persie and Eric Cantona. Now, like I said, those 2 won leagues in their first season at Manchester United, but that is some unreal company to be alongside. That's some crazy comparisons to be right next to. If Bruno had come into those teams and put in that level of goals, that level of assists, he probably would have ended up with a Premier League winners medal himself on the back of that. But he has taken Manchester United from pretty ordinary to actually pretty good. Not yet title challengers, but pretty good. Number 4, Pogba revival. Post-lockdown, when Paul Pogba came back into the team, he performed brilliantly. And I got to admit, I was very unsure about how Bruno and Pogba could fit into the team. The role Bruno's been taking up is the role that I thought Paul Pogba saw him in for himself. I also wasn't really sure if Paul Pogba could play in the 4-2-3-1. The evidence of that being him playing in the 4-2-3-1 under Jose Mourinho and seemingly not loving it. Now, there's a difference to any manager's interpretation of a formation can be different. I mean, Barcelona and Stoke used to both play a 4-3-3. I don't think Tony Pulis' team looked anything like what Barcelona's did on the pitch. But Paul Pogba's discipline and his professionalism filling in for allowing someone who is a little bit more creative and a little bit more fruitful in the final third has been absolutely mint. I think he's happy playing with a player that he trusts. I think he's happy seeing other people able to create. I think there's a lot of pressure on Paul Pogba, and maybe he doesn't thrive in that. Some players, Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney, these are players that thrive on being the guy the team has to go through. Sometimes when Paul Pogba would play, you would see that he felt like he had to do everything. And when he complicated his game, he added weight to it that he didn't need. When Paul Pogba plays those simple passes, when he plays the first time ball, when Paul Pogba's keeping it simple, he's almost unplayable. There are not many players in world football that can do what Paul Pogba can do. And when Paul Pogba keeps it simple, Paul Pogba is a dream to watch. And I think having someone like Bruno alongside him, maybe it was that we needed to truly free him up. We all thought Matic was that guy. We all thought Fred might have been that guy. Maybe it was actually someone that takes the attacking responsibility away from him and allows him to be in the midfield. Paul Pogba's best performances in midfield have come when he's been probably at Juventus and he had Pirlo alongside him and he had someone like Vidal alongside him. And he could just play his game and not have to worry about being the enforcer and not have to worry about being the mega creator. It looks as though Paul Pogba's probably going to stay at Manchester United now, and some of that might be down to lack of options to move abroad, and that might be down to a ridiculously fat contract that gets offered to him to keep him here. And I'm not bothered. If he shows the sort of form that we've seen post-lockdown, then I think he's a massive asset to the club, and it'd be easier to keep hold of him than it would be to go and try and find a proper replacement for him. Post-lockdown on the pitch, we've seen in 9 appearances, 2 assists and 1 goal, 1.9 key passes per 90, 1.3 tackles per 90, 85.5% pass completion, and he's looked really good doing it, and he looks like he's relaxing doing it, which is nice to see. And hopefully he can continue to build on that, and maybe even with Donny van de Beek coming in, you might see Solskjaer being able to give the guy a rest when he needs it, or give Bruno a night off when he needs it, and we might be able to see a little bit of fluidity along the middle. That'd be nice. And number 5 then, there was a lack of big chances created. Premier League only this, so, you know, Europa's Europa and it's a bit out there and does not really bear any relevance to what we're going to see next season anyway, because we are back in the big competition. It's relevant again now United are back in it. If United do want to compete in the Premier League next season and push for trophies, that we have to create more chances. More big chances. United scored the least amount of goals in the top 5 with 66. It was 33 less than City and 19 less than Liverpool. The improvement in defence that we spoke about last week has actually helped where we've come, because United have been skinnier. We've been leaner, we've been meaner, we've kept more clean sheets, and we've been more of a team in that aspect. But we definitely have to start scoring some more goals. And this time last year when we lost Lukaku and we lost Sanchez, you're like, Christ, you're looking at record-breaking season out of Tony Marshall and Marcus Rashford, and what's Greenwood even going to chip in? I remember thinking, if Greenwood scores 4 or 5 goals next season, I'll be delighted. A lot of them have just destroyed that expectation. It'd be nice to see that if we can set targets for them going forward. I think Tony Marshall can score 30 goals. I think Marcus Rashford can score 30 goals. And I think going off the season that he's just had, depending on what happens in terms of signings, if he gets enough games, Mason Greenwood can comfortably get 20 goals. He could actually even outscore the rest of them if he's given the same amount of game time. He's that good. But we have to create more chances. According to Opta, this is their definition of what a big chance is. A situation where a player should reasonably be expected to score, usually a one-on-one scenario or from very close range when the ball has a clear path to goal and there is a low to moderate pressure on the shooter. In the Premier League, Marcus Rashford created the most big chances with 9, followed by 8 from Tony Marshall. Paul Pogba and Bruno created 3 big chances since he joined the club. I expect that to be far higher next season, with the quality going to improve, obviously. Linked with Thiago, if we do get him, that's massively going to go up. Van de Beek, excited to see what he can do. If we add Jadon Sancho to that as well, a lean defence and an attack that's creating lots of opportunities, I would expect us to start finishing. De Bruyne created the most big chances in the Premier League last season with 33, which was 15 more than who was joint second, and that was Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mahrez, who both came in with 18. United only created 55 big chances all season. Kevin De Bruyne created 33 on his own. And that was 15 more than Mahrez and Trent Alexander-Arnold, who came second. Between Mahrez and Kevin De Bruyne, they created almost as many big chances as Manchester United created themselves as a team across the entire season. So there's loads of room for improvement there. It's not all negative though, with Bruno Fernandes hitting on average 2.1 key passes per 90. Pogba made 1.9 per 90. And new signing Van de Beek, he also averaged 1.8 in the Eredivisie. Chances are definitely going to come, and if we add the signings in the key areas to that thing as well, United are going to get chances, and we do have the players that will finish them. That's it from me. We will be doing a transfer talk video where we look at some of the midfield options. Thiago's definitely going to be in there. I guess Van de Beek's not anymore because we signed him. That could help us get some of these gaps filled that we've mentioned. Some of the things that we need to improve on. Maybe it's possession, maybe it's chance creation. But we'll be doing that a little bit later this week, so make sure to keep it locked, make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.